In this video I want to show the setup that I use for recording video from the saddle of my mountain bike when riding. Now this will be somewhat of a review of the GoPro Karma gimbal, so I think this video will be helpful for anyone interested in this, even though this is coming from a mountain biker's perspective. I do use the GoPro Karma grip gimbal, which is somewhat of a new product for me, and I've really enjoyed using it because it has added some pretty dramatic stabilization to my mountain biking videos. So when you get one of these, it does come with a case, and I actually, when I ordered this, ordered a case because I wanted to keep it safe. Little did I know it actually comes with one, and so I saved 40 bucks by returning the case. Also, it does come with a mounting ring, and I actually ordered one of these too, and this thing was $30 retail, so I saved some money on the ring as well. So if you get one of these, don't order a case and a ring because it comes with one. I also use the extension cable, and I'll show how all this works when I show my setup. And I do prefer mounting the GoPro on my chest, and again I'll show exactly how I set this up. But you can also probably mount the GoPro gimbal on your handlebars. And the GoPro has built-in image stabilization that's electronic, but the gimbal just takes it to a whole new level. And by the way, I do turn off the electronic stabilization when I'm using the gimbal. The way this works is on the Karma grip, you would unlock by turning this ring, and then you pull out the head, and then you just mount it on the extension cable. So what you're going to do is just plug the head into here, and then you're going to plug the rest of it into the grip. And by the way, the grip does act as a battery, so it will keep your GoPro charged. And I've had this thing on for well over an hour, and I only got down to, it has 4 dots for the battery indicator. I got down to the 3rd one, and the GoPro itself was 100% charged, so it keeps it charged up. So that's how I use the extension cable. And then to mount the camera is you would just, there's a little button underneath here, you open the door, and you do have to remove the battery or the door that covers the USB charging port. So you would just remove that and then plug the camera into the head unit. So you would just line up the connectors inside, and it slides in, and you got to give it a pretty good push, and once it's lined up and the door closes, you know you're good to go and it's mounted in there. So one thing that I didn't show is you actually do have to put the mounting ring on. So the mounting ring goes on the head itself, and then slide it back in. And then you want to lock it in. And when you're recording with this, you have to have the GoPro label facing out. So I'm going to use the back of the mounting ring to mount this onto the chesty, the chest mount strap. And so you want this directly behind the GoPro label. So I'll just lock the ring. And that's set up. Now I'll show you how I mount it onto the chesty. So on the chesty, you've got the bracket for the camera, and you would just slide it in there just like any other camera housing, GoPro camera housing. Tighten it down, and then what I do for the Karma is I will point this part of the extension cable kind of down so it's not out here bouncing around. I have it kind of touching my chest. What's really great about the Karma gimbal is that you don't have to worry about how the camera is angled. So before I started using the gimbal, what would happen is, you know, sometimes I'd be leaning more forward and the camera would be pointing down. Sometimes I would lean back and the camera would be pointed up. This, it doesn't matter. You can rock all over the place. Once you're ready to use it, you would just tap the power button, and the gimbal will take a second and power on. Now what should happen when you power the camera on is on the back of the camera it should say USB connected for a few seconds, and then you should see an image. The issue that I've had with this is sometimes that doesn't happen. So on the back of the camera it simply says USB connected, but there is no image, so I can't see through the lens. And when that happens, I can't operate the record button. I hit the record button on the grip and nothing happens. So the way that I found to remedy that is not to power off the camera, but I power off the grip, and I held it down for a few seconds. You can see the gimbal is now off. It just moves around freely. And I do have an image on the back of the camera, but if I power it back on, power just the grip on, it should work properly. So it says USB connected, and now I have an image. Sometimes I have to do that once or twice, but that's the only way that I found to remedy that. So I just wanted to bring up that issue in this review. With the gimbal on and the camera on, you can record by hitting the record button on the grip, or you can record by just hitting the camera button. Now what I usually do is I have this stuffed in my jersey pocket, so when I want to record video, I just hit the record button. The nice thing about having the battery in here is the fact that I don't have to worry about conserving battery life with the GoPro. If I can be out for a 2 or 3 hour ride and probably leave this thing on, and I'm going to be fine. So I can just leave it on and just hit the record button anytime I want. You can also change the mode of the camera with the mode button on the grip. So you can change it to photo or time lapse or burst by toggling through the different settings, the same way you would hit the mode button on the side of the camera. Like I said in the opening of the video, I'm very impressed with the stabilization that I get from this. It really allows you to, ride, run, whatever you want to do without worrying about holding the camera still or keeping your body really still while you're moving. You can really just focus on your ride and let the gimbal do the rest of keeping the camera stable. I just want to show how this works and looks if you're not using the extension cable. I like the extension cable for mountain biking. Like I said, I can just put the battery grip in my jersey pocket, whether the head is mounted on the handlebars or the chest like I use it. But if you wanted to just put it on the handle, so if you want to shoot some family video, or if you want to maybe record someone while you're riding and stop on the side of the trail and watch them go by or whatever, it works really well like this too. And the nice thing about this is there really is not much of a setup required. You don't have to adjust the head angle or anything like that. Now if you wanted to, if you have to reset it, there is a procedure that you can do by setting it on the end of the table, holding down the lock button for about, I think it's, I want to say 10 seconds or so, but I'm not going to go into that. But you can reset the calibration if you need to. And there is a tag button, so if you like to do tags in your video, you can just push the tag button on your grip. So again, that's what it looks like when it's just mounted directly into the Karma grip. I also want to mention that you can mount this directly like onto a backpack. I wouldn't do it for mountain biking because it's just a little bit too heavy. It's going to bounce around too much. But you could put the mounting ring right there and get some kind of GoPro mount to mount it to a backpack or different areas. But again, I like how the extension cable just gets the bulk of this grip, because this isn't light. I mean, this would be a little bit heavy. And the extension cable is kind of new, so you used to just have to mount this here and try to stabilize it with something to keep it from bouncing around so much. But now with the extension cable, that's not much of an issue. I want to talk one more time about that issue I was having with it not reading the camera and only showing USB connected, because even when I was shooting this video, I was messing around with it, and even powering off the grip and powering back on didn't work. So I had to hook the head directly up to the handle, and it seemed to work fine. So going through the cable, I guess, can have a little bit of an issue. So there's even some video out there of resetting the handle, so you can pull everything apart, hold the power button down for about 45 seconds on the handle. That'll reset the handle, but I even tried that and it didn't work. So I just want to mention that. I mean, GoPro products, when they work, are great. When they don't work, they can be very frustrating. So that's another little frustrating issue that I hope will be resolved in some kind of firmware update. But for now, it's just something you have to deal with. A couple other things that I'll mention is, from what I understand, this is not water resistant. So come on, GoPro. I mean, if you're using this out on a mountain bike or out in nature, it's got to be water resistant. So that's a little bit of a bummer. And the last thing that I'll mention is that I do use the wide setting when mountain biking. That gives the best view and the best stabilization. I don't use linear or narrow. So That's going to wrap it up for this overview of the GoPro Karma, talking about my setup for mountain biking. It's not perfect. I hope GoPro can work out some of the issues, because right now it still says USB connected. I can't get it to work. So this is a real candid review, because like I said, I like the GoPro products a lot when they work, but GoPro needs to get it together and not get stuff out to the market unless all the bugs are worked out. So there you go. Questions or comments, leave them below. Thanks for watching.